Just to Serve TV, back with you. Michael Bryant here, Linda Kenny Bodden. We have the charging documents now in the Charlie Kirk assassination case. This is against the alleged POS, as I'm calling him. So now we've been talking about this to some degree, but now we got the actual documents that kind of clarify what the charges are. So
and they started by releasing the actual probable cause document, Michael Bryant, here. In very small print, I have to tell you.
Yes, I know.
Teeny weeny little print. Could they afford the print? Could they afford like the paper?
I know. Come on. Let's kill a couple more trees and spread that out so we can read it. It's
electronically.
Look at that, and it's 2+ pages of that little, like 6-point font. Cut right through that for us. We got the aggravated murder, we have felony discharge of a firearm, and we have obstruction of justice. Anything beyond aggravated murder is excess. It's really ultimately not going to mean much.
And that's actually we can go back to the probable cause. That's actually the complaint that's filed, the information they call it. They don't have a grand jury system in Utah, which I think is much better because prosecutors make decisions anyhow. They think the grand jury protects them from immunity, but then you just give them immunity under a statute.
and so what they do is they have a preliminary hearing instead if it's not waived.
Yeah, which is going to be determined.
Generally, it is because you don't want to show your hand, but you're ultimately getting to the same point. Is there probable cause to go forward with the trial? That's the ultimate question. Okay.
Right. And then the one thing that I would say that when we're reading this and going through this really quickly, they have this kid dead to center, so to speak. Okay. And that's maybe not the best terminology. And the only hope he has, in my opinion, is some type of forgiveness that he would have from the family, which this past weekend when they had the Charlie Kirk memorial where, thousands upon thousands of people attended, Mrs. Erica Kirk did say she forgives him. So the question is going to be whether that somehow factors into whether or not you go for the death penalty in this case, especially since it was the parents, the mother and the father, that turned him in. So
it seems like, and I find that sort of ironic that, quite often we see with folks like this who are disturbed, assuming he's the guy, they have a horrible support system, right? It's a broken family, it's, exes, and it's just, there are issues, but not with this kid. In fact, if it were not for his family and their friends and his friends, he may never have turned himself in. In fact, he might have been successful in killing himself, which we know he considered. I just think that's ironic. It's just not normal to have somebody in that position with a traditional support system.
Right. This is, and that's why, you don't know, but the mother had expressed concern about him, that the suspected shooter looked like her son when the photographs are released, which tells you that it's very important to release photographs. And law enforcement sometimes goes against it, but you want to release those photographs when you don't know, in this day, especially this day and age of social media. But this is the mom, and then the father agreed, and then the father reported that the rifle, apparently that the police were saying was used, matched a gift that he'd given his son from the grandfather, which is the grandfather's. I guess it was a World War II rifle. I thought it was World War One, but somebody's saying it's World War II. I don't know, but
it's a German rifle. Yeah,
German rifle. I'm not that. I've seen different reports, so I can't tell you, and I don't think. I don't know if it's answered in here. I don't see it. I just see the name of the rifle. But if we go through this and the charges, and then again, anything beyond aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, victim targeting, felony discharge of firearm, these are all things that are not going to happen. And they do have the probable cause statement in the actual complaint, and they had released the probable cause statement separately, Michael, and that's this, okay, which is very small, but they go through the shooting, which of course was horrible, and of course Mr. Kirk took the bullet into his carotid artery, which I asked my husband, Dr. Michael Bott, about that. Said it clearly hit his spine. That's because you don't die from immediately from the blood loss. It clearly hit the spine, and that's why you see him slumping over. And that would have stopped the spine, would have stopped the bullet from going through. It's just a horrible. Horrible. But here's the probable cause. There's a lot of probable cause, but I have a question that I don't know if this answered. Okay. It talked about how the mother and the family had dinner, all right, and the mother told the police that that prior to September 10th, they don't indicate when prior, that there was a recent incident where uh, Rob Tyler had come to dinner and a conversation with another family member, and they don't remember exactly mention who that is. Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. And the family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. So this is a dinner prior to September 10th. They don't tell you how long in advance, but according to other reports, it may have been 6 days or so beforehand. And how do you plan that? How did he have any one of my questions, did he have any contact with UVU before? Had he been to that campus? Had he been on top? Or did he scope it out? Is there video of him scoping it out beforehand? I don't know the answers to that. I don't know if this answers those.
Yeah, I think we're going to find that out as this develops. But he's from the area. It's the school in the area. So even to have just a passing familiarity with it would not be unusual. And perhaps that's where they're holding events. That's kind of the event center of the university. So there's a good chance he's from the area. He's of that age. He's been to events there. I would speculate that. I think we'll learn soon enough. And if that's true, he knew the layout. He knew that it's surrounded by a couple of buildings that are easily accessible. You don't have to have any sort of pass to get in them.
Everything was open. The doors were open for the building.
Yeah. And so I mean, to me, 6 days is all the time in the world. And he only had that 6 days because they didn't announce the visit until 6 days out.
Right.
I think that is tons of time. I also think, and this plays into this a little bit, the guy was super lucky. I think he was lucky at the shot that he took. I think he was lucky that it all kind of played out as he mapped it out, up to the point where he was caught, of course. And who knows, had it not been for his family and or friends that helped him, convince him to turn himself in, who knows if he'd ever been caught or how long it would take to catch him. I mean,
Right.
We don't know his master plan for escape except to escape the scene, which he did successfully.
Mm-hmm.
So it all seemed to work out to me, but there was a huge element of luck, in my opinion. That's why I think when people first looked at this, yes, it was not, I don't want to get graphic about the assassination itself. It was not a headshot. Nobody shoots somebody to hit him in the neck. That's not a targeted area. It's either center mass, or if you're trying to hit him in the head, you would do that. I think he's just lucky that he found the mark, period. And we know that he, shot. He had a history of shooting, so he knew guns. And whether or not he'd used Grandpa's gun before, I'm unclear on that. But I think there was so much luck involved in him getting set up, taking that shot, hitting his target, escaping the scene. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and no one deserves to be assassinated. I'm going to say that again. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. No one deserves to be assassinated. But I do think this has changed the landscape, so to speak. That you're going to have a police. You're going to have private security. Why? We live in a world where there has to be advanced teams. We saw that with the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania on then candidate Trump. Now President Trump, and right from this rooftop, prone position shooter, right, who almost got lucky there. So I think that people are on notice now that no matter what kind of event you run, you better have, whether you're hiring the police, whether you're hiring private security, whatever it is, it's not just the immediate area. You don't have to be worried about, like we used to be in the old days, with the shooter, right there in the crowd in front where the Secret Service is looking, where the security team is looking. You have to look everywhere.
We're a very reactive society. If you go back to when JFK was shot, from
the first live murder on TV.
Yeah, and I don't care which of the theories you believe, whether it was CIA involved, there was one shooter, there was two shooters. The fact is, at least one shooter was pretty damn close on the grassy knoll there, right? How do you get to that point with a rifle?
One shooter had a really easy shot
in the book depository. I get that.
It's an easy shot. It's an easy shot.
That's a building that you would have been all over.
Right.
In this day and age. But back then, not so much. So I think what will be learned from this is, if you are not, the key is not all of us have presidential security, And if you do, then it's a very different level. It's effectively what they used for the memorial service last weekend.
Right.
It was a level just below, I think they describe it as just below the Olympics, but it would be the same as for a presidential inauguration. I mean, it was as good as it gets. And not perfect. I'm sure there will be those that somehow challenge even that kind of protection. But you can't, if you're a private citizen, as Charlie Kirk was, can you justify or even afford that kind of preparation and security? I don't know.
Well,
Now
let me
you
tell
have to think about it.
now if you're a university, you have to think about it also. If you're a university or anyone holding these events, you have to think about it, because now universities and colleges and any place holding an event is on notice that this could happen. And I think that has to be factored into, and that is notice for everybody in the United States. I mean, my gosh, last week we had a shooting at a country club at a wedding, okay? A mass shooting at a country club at a wedding. So if that's not on notice that everybody needs private security, and that was not targeted to a specific, no one knew anybody at the wedding, it tells you that we're entering a different world here. If I may, since Tylenol is in the news, just like when the Tylenol killer put cyanide in Tylenol, it changed the landscape of all of our bottles. And I don't have
Now they've got this foil across the top, right?
The foil across the top to make sure they have not been entered and all. So
that's a scary thing. I mean, how frightening is it that if, hey, I want to have an outdoor wedding, but whoa, I can't afford to because I got to spend 10 grand on security. So I can't do that. I mean, the effect on a society that fear has is chilling. And I don't know the answer, because the last thing somebody wants to do is say, come on, what are the odds? And then, of course, it happens. It just changes the mindset. It changes some things as simple as the budget. How can we have a wedding? Well, it better be indoors, because otherwise we got to have the extra security outside.
Changes everything. It changes all of our lives. Okay. And I'm going to repeat again, for those of you, people have come after us and said, look, we're Republicans. We're not Republicans. I'm a flaming liberal Democrat. Okay. You're a reasonableist. We are someone, we have a moral center, I believe. And our moral center says you don't assassinate people in your home country because you don't.
Crazy. What a radical idea that is. That is insane. I don't understand how people at any level, and we did a poll on our site, is it ever justified to kill somebody over something they said, right? And I didn't distinguish between political speech or any speech, just anything they said. And about 2% said yes.
Yes.
What kind of world is this, you idiots? Are you kidding me? Those people have to be mentally ill. Anybody that can justify killing somebody just because they said something that person didn't like is mentally ill. I'm sorry.
And then we're not talking about time of war. We're not talking about Osama bin Laden. We're not talking about Hitler. We're not talking about a time of war.
No, those are war crimes, and that's a different level of and people did respond. There were a lot of comments in the poll. Normally, we don't get a lot of comments. We just get the votes. A lot of comments about, well, what if this happened? What if murder? Yeah, if somebody holds a gun to your head and the speech is, I'm going to shoot you, yeah, you can probably defend yourself. We're not talking about that, so don't go crazy with these bizarre scenarios. We're talking about very simply what happened to Charlie Kirk, what could happen to anybody that voices their opinion in public. Some people got upset because when I interviewed Sean Paul Reyes, who is the Long Island audit guy, at his hearing most recently last week, he's got another one coming up. He's been charged with criminal trespass. He's been charged with, I think it's called, is it public, some sort of, I don't know what they call it there, but it's a low-level crime about doing something in public. Anyway, so all because he went on a guy's property and the former trooper brought his gun out, approached and was aggressive too, and spit on Sean Paul Reyes. So Sean Paul's in court. I'm talking to him afterwards saying, now in the light of the Charlie Kirk assassination, you've got some opinions that some don't like, right? I mean, and he's out there. What does that do to you? Does that affect your mindset? And he admitted that it did. People were commenting like, "Oh, you're raising your profile to the level of a Charlie Kirk or a president," or I mean, I don't understand people's reaction to that. How can it not have a chilling effect on people who have an opinion that may not be accepted by a lot of people, and they're out in the public? How could they not suggest that crosses their mind?
Well, including, remember, this is on the heels of the Democratic legislator who was assassinated, along with her husband, and the dog had to be killed because it was so badly injured in the assassination attempt. Okay, and again, that was, if you want to talk about it, that was the person who was being on the right assassinating somebody on the left. If we're going to talk right and left, I don't want to talk right and left. I want to talk people and morals. All right,
Sure.
just please, where are we?
Yeah, it makes you wonder where we're going from here. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But in the meantime, you're watching this, please hit subscribe, like, share, notify on Justice Serve TV. We'll keep bringing you more of these legal, ethical, and moral issues for you to comment on. And hopefully we could all, as Michael Bryant would say, try to do the right thing.